Hello, welcome to JIBRIN ANGLE on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. We have today, as always, Barrister Austin Manta as our regular and special guest. He's a very senior lawyer, and he is also a senior public analyst or current affairs analyst. We are here today. We shall be talking about several issues that has to do with both global and local politics. We shall be talking about Donald Trump, the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. We shall elaborate on that. We shall also be talking about the Tinubu. I read earlier in the week that Tinubu has sent a supplementary 6.2 trillion naira supplementary budget to the National Assembly. That we'll be talking about as well. We shall be talking about Senator Ndume's controversy with the presidency. I don't know because the presidency is not clearly or publicly saying it, but I can see I think the presidency is the one working on the ground. So we shall be talking about that story as well. And we shall also be talking about the planned protest that is coming up in the month of August, I think 1st of August, national protest that I don't know the organizer. I think one of the organizers, if not the organizer, is Showore, the owner of Sahara Reporter. And I think I know some few journalists too that are involved in that. So, but I don't know much about the planners, actually the organizers of that protest. So these are the topics we shall be talking about. And perhaps we shall also be talking about the issue that has to do with Dangote. Dangote, what is actually happening between Dangote? What is going on? What is the beef behind Dangote and the national and the presidency or the executive arm of government or the federal government? Because I think it's a broad situation. So we shall be. I'm not sure if time permits. We may. So let me use that word may. We may be talking about that as well because it's a new development. I just read about it earlier today. Okay, I think I heard about it yesterday, but I wasn't too detailed. I didn't get the detail of the situation then. But this morning I seem to have gotten something of somehow a kind of detail that we can all actually chew on. But not sure yet. We may be talking about that if time permits. So these are the rundown. I just decided to run down the topics that what we have on the table to discuss on this show today. As I said earlier, my name is JIBRIN, and this is JIBRIN Angle. We have Barrister Austin Manta, a very, very, very good and cogent analyst that will be actually dealing with these topics with. So, Barrister, you're welcome once again. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure.
All right. And obviously you have, of course, I don't think there is anyone who is who is into current affairs who didn't hear or read about the attempted assassination of US former President Donald Trump. And obviously the failure of the Secret Service and other failures around the incidents as well. So please, if you don't mind, can you give us your thoughts on this assassination attempt and everything around Donald Trump, the political aspect of his life?
Thank you very much. For most of us who are watchers of the American politics and the American empire, and who have been following its principles and its actions, we have come to see that America is decaying from within. Now, America was founded on the principles of family and a nation under God. Over time, what we see is that they have gone away from family, they have gone away from God.
Mm.
Everything goes under a liberalism that is becoming more and more extreme, to the extent that you are allowed to do whatever you like. Now there are millions of families in America that are single mothers, single parents, detracting from the family. The family has always been the root of a stable society, because within a stable family, it will evolve into a stable nation. Within that family, there are values, and that values translate into good and stable citizens. The more you have an attack on family values, the more you find it being reflected in the quality of the society that we evolve. That is how we see America today. They have jettisoned God, they have jettisoned the family. So we have a situation where there's extreme liberalism that is going on. On the other hand, there are still a good number, millions of Americans who are conservative, who want to retain those family values, who want to retain a nation under God. So these are the competing interests in American society. Donald Trump has always been, and he leaves no one in doubt on where he stands. He wants to maintain the American values, the family system, and the nation under God. And the other group will naturally, in that form, oppose him. So that is what has happened. You know about the abortion issue, which is a big issue in America, where they turn it from abortion to rights of women to control their body. That is the language that they use to minimize the crime of killing of innocent children.
Mm.
They call it the right of women to control their bodies. So in that way, if you look at it, you see some sense. It detracts from the actual crime of killing babies. The same thing, you will see the language changing from sodomy, which used to be a crime in the US itself,
Yeah.
to gay, to now, what do they call it now? Gay
LGBTQ.
right.
Gay right.
LG, they have amortized not just the gay, but other groups
Join it.
into their fold. So you now have LGBTQ. All of them have come together. These rights, if you ask 20 years ago, where were these rights? But today, they are in their millions, they are formed groups, they are overrolling the society, and they want to even force it down the throats of those who oppose them. It has come transgender, it has come to a situation where you as a parent, you will not have a voice if your 9-year-old daughter decide to transition to a boy. You as a parent will not have a choice. You can even be sent to prison if you want to oppose it. Similarly, your child of 10 years can transition to a girl, and you as a parent will be deprived the right to say no. On one hand, we say there's age of majority and minority. A child of certain age cannot do certain things, cannot drive, cannot open a bank account, cannot do this. But that child of 9 years is allowed to transition from one gender to another.
Mm.
They have banned the word daughter and son. They have banned the word female and male. They want to create hybrid personalities, so that we will not be saying somebody is a woman, we will not be saying somebody is a man. They have introduced several genders. So this is the context in which the politics of America has become so bitter, and it has become almost like enmity between the two groups. Donald Trump came and we saw what he did. Now, the liberal establishment, which, by the way, are very powerful in America. They control the press, they control Nollywood and Hollywood, they control a lot of power. They have several billionaires in their fold. They had to fight him, and eventually Joe Biden was elected the president. Now, in this coming election in November, Donald Trump has sought, he brought one strategy, just to put it in one sentence. He wanted to make the election into an issue of strength and weakness, and to put himself as a strong person and to project or show Joe Biden as a weak person. To that extent, he succeeded. But over and above that, the assassination attempt gave him an unsolicited advantage. It gave him more than what he could have done. And don't forget, this man is a television man. He's a television actor. He has been there for long. He recognized the moment, even in that dire and dangerous moment of the gunshot. He recognized that it could be a moment for him to project strength. So even as the Secret Service were struggling to take him away, he had the sense to project that strength. And you can now see the iconic picture of his fist with against the background of an American flag, and his words, fight, fight, fight. This is something that we go like I said, even in that dire moment, he recognized that a show of strength would sit well with the American people. So he asked and was able to project that strength by thumping his fist in the face of death and rousing the people to fight. At the same time, the president, Joe Biden, had been struggling right from the debates within his Democratic Party. You know, there are calls for him to step down. As at this morning, yesterday it was 2 senators and 1 senator. As this morning, 2 senators have joined with 30 House members to call on him to step aside. So while Donald Trump is projecting strength, the other side is projecting weakness. And while the Republican Party is projecting unity, the other party is projecting utmost chaos. So if things go on as they are, you can take it to the bank that Donald Trump will be re-elected in November. Barring any other possibility. Even if they change Joe Biden, it will be a risky move, and there's no guarantee that anybody chosen now will overturn the movement that is in favor of Donald Trump.
All right. Thank you so very much for that preamble, that background of the United States background you just gave to us, very detailed, and the viewers, that is just it. Barrister Manta just said it as it is, and very, very perfect, very apt in the explanation of the U.S. background, where U.S. is coming from, and where they are at the moment, sort of. So that is just it. The fabric of the nation is in jeopardy. Seriously, U.S. fabric is political and social fabric is diminishing. Not just political, social, legal, and yeah, all the fabrics you can mention on all the paraphernalia of governance. They are all in jeopardy at the moment. Honestly, U.S. has never been this weak in the history of global sphere. U.S. has never been this weak. This weakness it's unprecedented. Unprecedented, that's the right word, it's unprecedented, actually. So Barrister just said it well. That is just it. The US is just moving away very, very fast, moving away. In the school now, institutions in the US right now, schools, they are putting Bible away, putting opening prayers away, putting anything that has to do with God, anywhere God is mentioned, they all is just being thrown away. They are the liberal government, the current Democrat government is just putting anything that has to do with God is an anathema to them, is an abomination to them. It is a no-go area to them, whatever. So they are banning prayer, opening prayers in any institutions or any events or whatever. They are taking God. In fact, even dollar, in God we trust. They have tried on several occasions, and they are still working hard under the radar to take that away from their currency. In God we trust. They just want to take that away. It's just that when the first filtered to the public, there was very strong opposition to that. So they kind of withdrew that, but I'm very sure they are working underneath it. So under the radar to make sure anything that they achieve that as well. So anything that has to do with God, anything that has to do with morality, they are just not there. They are going farther away from anything that has to do with morality. It is far down towards immorality. Everything is just a decay. In fact, the decadence in the society right now in the US is just it's something that no one could have imagined for that US will ever be in this position about 10, 20 years ago. Sort of. So it's a very bad situation. Now, on this Donald Trump issue, for those of you, so there are some people who wonder why I am in support of Donald Trump now, and I am an ardent. I'm an ardent. When I say ardent, unrepentant, ardent, unflinching supporter of Donald Trump. I love everything about him. I love everything about except one thing. Sometimes he goes petty. Sometimes he just wants to do some petty things or whatever, indulge in some petty back and forth or whatever. That's even at that, because I don't believe everybody has one weakness. You can't be perfect. So I can understand that side of him as a human being. So, but apart from sometimes he becomes petty, indulging in something, a conversation that saying something that that is beneath him. Apart from that, everything about Donald Trump, I just love that man. I love his courage. I love his tenacity. I love his resilience. I love his personality. And I love his strength. Above all, his strength. He exudes enormous strength that people around him and far from him seem to naturally be scared of him. It goes beyond respect. And some respect, most people respect him, but I think very many people they fear him because the kind of courage he has, the kind of strength he exudes is just is something overboard. It's something that is not seen in politics, in public sphere. It's nothing that is not. It's something that is not experienced in the public. So, and that is just it. Now, my love for Donald Trump, it is very, very objective. I started supporting him from the foundation, from when he came down the escalator. From when he came down the escalator to announce his presidency for his presidential run. And I listened to him. My God, when I watched that speech, I said, my God, I love this man. That was the day I started loving him, and I remember everybody when he first started, people discounted him, just shrugged him aside, and everybody just said, wow, this guy is not going anywhere. This man is just like Barrister says, he's a television person. It's an entertainment person, so it's just that he has tried it before. This is not the first time Donald Trump is declaring for whatever that he will whatever. I looked at him after listening to that speech. I fell in love with him, and said from that time, I started supporting him very ardently. And I attended so many forum where people they brought him or his matter up, and people would just everybody would just this kind of. I was always the one who would say, "What are you people talking about? This man is heading towards being the president of the United States, and I think he will." Sort of, and then whenever I say it, people will just laugh at me and just see me as someone who did not know what he's saying or whatever. So and that is just it. So from there, I followed his antecedents. I followed his the process that actually got him to presidency. Every bit of him, he's that person who goes to where people generally don't go, politicians don't go to. Someone who talks, who brings up topics that politicians avoid. Sensitive situations, sensitive topics, sensitive events, everything that he is politically incorrect. That is just it. Let me use that word. And I love people who are politically incorrect, who say it the way it is. Donald Trump came up with the problem. And you people, I don't know why, for those of you, my viewers, go back to up to 35 years ago during the Ronald Reagan regime in 1983, 84. That was when Donald Trump started talking about the US, the decadence in the US. It was, in fact, if you watch all this, I don't know, by the time if you have watched all these videos, there are so many videos on YouTube about Donald Trump, dated back or whatever. Correct. That man has been, in fact, I consider him as a prophet. As a prophet.
He's very consistent.
Very, very. You see, I'm just trying to list out why I am in love with this man. I'm objectively in love with this man. Now, if you watch all those clips, 35 years ago down, everything that Donald Trump has been saying about the US, he's been very inconsistent. He's been saying the truth as they were and as they are at this time. Everything, the problem that US had that time, the policy problems that the US, everything, he has been very consistent and very, 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 very straightforward, very open towards it. And this man is more than just being a politician. Of course, he cannot be a politician. This man is just more than being a politician. So he has always said it all. All the people he has always criticized China from the 30-something years ago. He spoke about the way US were weak towards China. The US was weak towards China and towards other everything he said are things that have happened and are still happening today. And coming down to when he declared his presidency and ran through that period, he was saying he kept on hammering on all this, even when even majority, including the Republican Party, who I reconsider as some of them are rhinos. They are just rhinos, means Republican in name only. I believe that some of them are just like more of Democrats than Republicans. They are just registered. They don't only have that label as Republicans. Including Republicans, critics went all hell. Even up to this moment, some of them are still, apart from these last 2-3 weeks, that the unity is becoming so brazen, sort of. So they have always been against him, together with the Democrats or whatever. So he goes to where nobody goes to. He talks what people don't normally talk about. He dares the status quo. He dares the establishment. So, and that is one thing I love about him. And man, I wasn't wrong after he became president, after all. After supporting him, I listened to him for whatever reason. I just trusted that he was going to do what he promised to do. And man, he overperformed in 4 years. He did not only all the promises he made during campaign, he did not only fulfill them in his presidency. he even performed more than he promised. He did even more things than he promised. The things he never even promised, he took care of them. And a long list of, I used to have about 200 and something, so many things he did in 4 years, about 240 something, 250 something list of so many things, important things. Some of them are policy direction, and in policy direction. Some of them are in social direction. Some of them are in national and international, global direction, or whatever. So many things he achieved, sort of. So, and that is just it. So he actually stood against. One thing I wasn't happy during his 4 years as the president of the United States of America was he was supposed to, and that could have actually saved him from losing the 2020 election. Which I believe he didn't even lose in the first place. He was rigged. How could someone like Biden, who never campaigned, ever win election, and will not only win the election, win the highest vote ever in the history of election in Nigeria, in the US, a sort of the weakest president ever, the weakest presidential candidate and the weakest president. How could such a man ever win the highest vote count in the history of the US election? It's not basically impossible. That was a rigged election. So, like coming back to Donald Trump, he could have, what I thought he didn't, he failed to achieve during his presidency, that could have actually solidified his presidency, was the fact that he didn't really revamp the system. He tried it, but I understand why he actually exercised a level of restraint, because there were hypocrites around him, people who projected to be sheep, but they were actually snakes and vipers, sort of behind him, sort of. So the people who told him what he wanted to hear, and behind him they were doing something else. So he was actually surrounded with people who never gave him the true impression, the true reality of what is actually happening, or what was actually happening, and what was on ground, sort of. So I understand that was one of the reasons. And secondly, the Republican Party as well, the establishment in the Republican Party were ardently against him. He knew that, whatever. So I understood quite all right that there are firing that if he had done, could have actually attracted the wrath of the Republican establishment together with the Democrats or whatever, and that could have, of course, his presidency then was generally under a chaotic, not his making, but the making of the establishment. They made it look chaotic, actually. So, and that was the projection they gave to the public, and I think he was trying to minimize that negative projection, that negative impress that the establishment was pushing to the public then, and that is why probably he didn't. Because what I expected him to do was to really revamp the system. There were so many people that he could have fired. He would have revamped the legal system, not just legal system, but the Ministry of the Department of Justice. He needed to revamp that, the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, and other security agents or whatever agencies. Sorry. So I expected that revampment from him, but he didn't. He failed to do that, and of course, we know that we know what happened. That cost him what he is even passing through right now. Because if he had done what the needful then, they couldn't have used these same institutions as a weapon against him, sort of. But apart from that, honestly, everything about that man is just good. Now, another thing is, you see, this fight, the establishment fighting Donald Trump it keeps making me to love him, to see another good side of him. I don't know, Barrister, did you ever think that someone like Donald Trump, that the government of the United States the entire apparatus of government, of security and law, apparatus of law and security could ever go against one person and never find something to actually pin on him legally? Did you ever think of that? Did you ever expect that to come from someone like Donald Trump, who is a successful businessman? Because I've always had this mindset that there is no successful businessman that does not have one death, one dirty stuff, one skeleton or the other that is actually against the law, that he or she has perpetrated in the course of he or she becoming successful. So coming with this from the government on Donald Trump, honestly, it's so shocking to me that the FBI, the CIA, the secret, all the legal system, everything they have thrown, including the kitchen sink, the entire kitchen sink at him. Nothing sticks, nothing. They couldn't find something. The worst they could find was something that wasn't even illegal, that has to do with his personal life, with a porn star or whatever. And something that is not, I can't believe that Donald Trump is this clean, Barrister. What do you think about this?
Well, you have to understand, after I set out the conflict in the American society,
yes,
as between the conservative and the liberal establishment, even before Donald Trump became president, they knew where he was going, and they set the machinery to fight him from day one, for which they had some allies in the Republican Party itself. So even within his own party, he was not completely at peace with his own people. And don't forget, Donald Trump had never been in administration before. He's a businessman, and the rules that apply when you are a businessman are different from the rules that apply in administration of a country. So he came there as a complete novice in administration. Now, if you look in American society, somebody may be the president. For a long time, what they call the Washington establishment is as powerful as the president itself.
Yeah.
This establishment is as powerful. It includes the security agencies, the FBI, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, and other, the CIA. They constitute, with some powers behind, they constitute the Washington establishment. For him to go against these centuries established norms and establishment and still survive, and still be potent, and still be in poor position to become president again, is something, a feat that I personally believe has not been achieved in American history. Secondly, let me add something that I ought to have added. It is not by accident that America is the richest country in the world. It's not by accident that America is the strongest country militarily in the world. It's not by accident that every person, tribe, or society in the world has people in the United States. You can mention any tribe in the US, you have their citizens in the US. These are not by accident. Most of us believe that America has a destiny in the world. They have been a force of good, and this is now to discount the many evils that they have perpetrated. Go back and check in the advent of the Second World War, America rebuilt the whole of Europe by what they call the Marshall Plan. It was America that brought Europe out, because Europe was damaged and destroyed because of the Second World War. So America has been a force of good in the world, although they have also committed a lot of evil. But to be that successful, it's not just by their strength, I don't, and I've never believed that it's just by American strength alone. I believe that there is a heavenly or supernatural power that favored America to be what it is, to be the preeminent country in the world. And this was dependent on the values they had from independence, which I have set up, family and God. Now you progressively divest from those families. And that is where the problem has begun to come. No matter what anybody says of Donald Trump, and I point it out to them, no matter what anybody says of Donald Trump, in his 4 years, Russia did Hamas did not attack Israel during his 4 years. In the Far East, where China has been asserting dominance, they were controlled and they were contained. So these are the 4 areas of threat of security in the world. From the Middle East, from the Far East, from Russia attacking Ukraine, and the issue between Israel and the Palestinians. You can remember the accords that
Abraham Accord.
The Abraham Accord that Donald Trump put in place, very successful, up to the point that Biden took over, he shattered that. Yeah. All the Middle East countries were signing up to that accord. But look at the position now. So no matter what anybody says, he was regarded as a man of strength, unpredictable. So the countries had to respect him because you could not figure out what he will do or how he will react in a certain situation. This is what the president of America ought to be. But as soon as this man came, everybody saw that he was a weak person. And so you now see what happened between Russia and Ukraine. You saw what happened in Hamas. You saw what Iran is doing in the Middle East. Even in the Far East, you see how the issue is being handled. So Donald Trump is what America needs now to maintain their superiority and to maintain their status as a superpower and as a nation of good for the world. That is why a lot of us support him. And that is why we believe that he is the right person for the president, because it's not just America that is an issue. The world itself is an issue. The leadership of America has a lot to do on the world stage. So whoever is president of America is important. Me sitting here in Nigeria, I look at the president of America in as much position as the president of Nigeria when it comes to Nigeria, because what they do on the international stage, what they do in the economic forum, what they do militarily, will affect us here in so many ways. So we have to take a very good look at the American elections and an American power structure. And when you look at it objectively in that way, you will have to support Donald Trump. The issue is, do you give in to terrorists and people who threaten to get something by force, or you match them with force? He chooses that, look, you cannot appease these people. You cannot appease terrorists. Let's fight them. Let's fight them and eliminate them. He helped fight the ISIS terrorists. The assessment is that 90% of ISIS were rooted out. So the 10% that remain, even though if not completely, is already contained and is no longer a threat to world peace. So I have a lot to say in support of the 4 years of Donald Trump, which were being undercut from within the US, from within the establishment. And even in spite of that, he was able to forge ahead. I believe he has learned a lot of lessons establishment-wise, administrative-wise. He knows a lot of people that you appoint that are shouting they have loyalty to you don't have it. He has experienced that. He saw the people who supported him, whom he appointed. Some of them, you see what they say now. So I believe that if he has the opportunity to come back, he's going to adjust. He's going to better understand how to face both the internal and external threats.
Well, thank you so much like that. And for all that you have just said, you've been very, very detailed about that and very, very, very on point. And another thing, there are so many, in fact, you see Donald Trump, I do not expect Chris, I don't know, let me spell out this. I always tell people something. If you are, before you support anything in your life, whatever you want to support, whatever, first of all, do your research, make your research on that matter, on that issue, on that thing, or that institution, or whatever. Read everything, at least do make your research, and you'll be able to find out some things about that stuff. That will shape up your decision. Now, honestly, I do not expect any Christian. When I say Christian, not just nominal Christians, because we have so many Christians who are really, really, some of them are even pastors and ministers of God, are really born-again Christians that are actually supporting the Democrat Party, supporting Biden. I do not expect any real Christian to actually support any democratic platform. Anyone coming on that Democrat platform, not democratic, sorry. Any Democrat platform, go to their platform, you see everything they believe in, everything they stand for, major policies, major things they stand for are against Christianity, against God. And that is it. So I do not understand why a Christian will ever vote for a Democrat Party. Talk less of Joe Biden, who is far, who have gone far to the left. Now, on the Trump aspect, Trump in his 4 years, he promised that, and he actually was able to fulfill that. Religious liberty, because religious freedom and liberty was being, in fact, during the Obama regime, in fact, they already started, I think, I've forgotten this law that actually penalizes churches that speaks against the government. If you are a pastor, any church, any pastor who mounts the pulpit and speaks against the government will withdraw. There is some benefits or whatever that they withdraw from. And something I've forgotten, there is a penalty too. There is something that either there, I think, I've forgotten that. I don't want to, I'm trying to avoid, because it didn't just came to my mind right now. It didn't occur to me earlier. I could have actually gotten details of it. There are two things that happens to that church. They will withdraw withdraw the benefits that they receive from the federal government, and secondly, drop a kind of some hammer of law, that's something that has to do with, I don't know, I've forgotten anyway, but I know there are two penalties that goes with some such thing or whatever. When Trump became president, that because that was actually signed by executive fiat through Obama. When Trump became president, he abolished that. He used the same executive powers to actually cancel, to repeal that law. And so many other things he did for the Christians or whatever. And who could have ever imagined that the US will officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? So many presidents, Clinton, George Bush, all of them campaigned on this. They campaigned on all the presidential candidates that campaigned on promising to recognize Jerusalem as the capital and move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem. All of them, they were genuine. I think they were serious. But when they assumed power, leadership, the pressure was so immense and intense, of course. And I understand the pressure, because pressure comes from within and outside, because anything that has to do with Jerusalem, they will have a lot, the powers that be, the global superpowers in fact, it attracts the global establishment. anything that has to do with Israel and Jerusalem, it attracts global establishment. So, and that comes with serious pressure. And so many of all the presidents, all the United States presidents that campaigned, that promised to do that, actually caved to all those pressure, except Donald Trump, one person, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is such a person, he has that strong character, strong strength, very real strength, and courage to actually resist pressure when it is time to make the right decision. That is a very, very I do not expect any genuine Christian to actually vote for anyone other than Donald Trump in the next coming election. Honestly, that is just, he has done so much for the, and besides, even the Muslims, I don't even understand why Muslims are even voting for the Democrat, anyone coming from the Democrat platform. I don't know. It's the same. LGBTQ is also against very in conflict, serious conflict with the Islamic tenets. So I do not understand this. Everybody knows that the platform that is actually pushing strongly all the immoral policies, all the policies that has led the US system into such decadence, moral decadence. We all know that it is the Democrat platform that is actually pushing strongly, aggressively all these policies. So it doesn't make sense for any serious Muslim or any serious Christian to vote for anyone coming on that Democrat platform. And so that is just it. Barrister, let me ask you, why do you think, did you notice that most Nigerians actually hate Donald Trump?
Yeah, it is.
Why now, if you have noticed that, why do you think Nigerians hate Donald Trump?
There are two reasons. One, ignorance, and two, the information, or rather three. Two, the information that is out there. Three, the part of Nigeria where you come from. If you know who and who are against Donald Trump in Nigeria, the Northerners, the Muslim North, are fervently against him.
Yes.
But as you go down south, you see support for him very, very much there. The Muslims believe that, and you are saying why a Muslim should support the Democrat Party. They have good reason. Understand that the Democrats are the party that want open borders, immigration into the US. The Muslims of the world believe that America cannot be defeated outside, but it can be defeated from within. So their strategy is to encourage Muslim immigration to the US. The more they come to the US, the better. And the only party that can facilitate that is the Democratic Party. So there is a love-hate relationship. While on the one hand, the Democrats propose and propagate LGBTQ and moral decadence. On the other hand, they also buy into the agenda of the Muslims through immigration into the US. And by that, they are enabling Muslims to get a foothold and to attain sufficient numbers.
Which is actually working right now. It is working seriously.
Which is working. They have overrun Britain as we speak.
Yes.
Now, Muslims have overrun Britain. You cannot do anything in Britain except you abide by if you see the last elections in Britain, a lot of people who campaigned against Israel were voted because their constituents were majority Muslims. So if they come to achieve that in the US, you will begin to see when they have sufficient numbers, America will really begin to understand the problem they're against. A lot of people like Donald Trump have seen it.
Yes.
But the Democrats, their issue is they are not holding on to any belief system. Belief system is no longer anything to them. It's the power that is everything. If you have belief and you see that their belief will not take you to make power, you jettison that belief. Why is Joe Biden, a Catholic, now supporting abortion?
Honestly.
In the Catholic Church, you can never, is a principle of the Catholic Church that abortion is a sin and is illegal. And if you are supporting it, you are not even supposed to take the Holy Communion. How is Joe Biden, a born Catholic, now supporting abortion? It's because he believes it will bring him power. So there are people who don't have principles. Their principles relate only to power, what will bring them to power. And Joe Biden has changed his opinion over the years as he feels it will align with the a particular majority at that relevant time. So there are people that have no principles. The only thing that matters to them is to grab the power and hold it. So
you see, the thing is not okay. You mentioned three things: ignorance and sometimes selfish interest, and one other thing or whatever. But the truth, and okay, on the side of ignorance, there are so many Nigerians that are not ignorant. Because I felt bad. There is this former minister of foreign affairs. I've forgotten his name. He's always on Arise TV. It's a regular guy there when it comes to international issues. They always call him Professor. Is it Akin? I've forgotten his name, but I don't even care about it because that man behaves like I'm surprised, a prof for that matter. You see that I keep telling people sometimes, say, look, we've talked about this before.
If you are talking about Professor Bolaji, he has been like that from day one. His analysis is so superficial.
My God.
From day one, since I was a young lawyer, I have listened to him, and I always have room to condemn him,
honestly,
him, because he has no depth.
That is it, correct. That's
it. He was a foreign minister of Nigeria.
Yes.
And at his age, I think he's about 80-something now. When you hear him talk, you see that there's no wisdom, there's no depth, and there's no intellectual input in what he says. So I don't reckon him much as one of the great Nigerians that I will take seriously.
Honestly, that man, when I said, why is Arise? Okay, Arise, okay, they are featuring him because even Ruben Agbati, that I dislike so much, even from during Jonathan regime or whatever. It's of course he too is a liberal person. When it comes to liberalism, they are the ones actually who push liberalism in Nigeria, who push it, and so that I can understand why they feature him. But honestly, that man sometimes he speaks just like you said. I wonder how he became a professor. For God's sake, we have said this before. So academics does not make you give you wisdom. We said it before that academic is completely different from wisdom. Wisdom and academics are completely independent of each other. And that's exactly what I have seen over the course of my life. That I've met people who are well-read, real technocrats, real intellectuals, who, when you sit down with them and talk about things of general matters about life, and they are just not there at all. They are so empty. And that's exactly with the same thing with this so-called Professor Bolaji, Akinwumi, right? Yes. A sort of. So I remember the last one I had, I had to turn on my television, honestly, where he said he despises Donald Trump. Just I don't get it. I don't understand why people will hate someone who is actually out to do the right thing. Some people will say because of his personality, because of the way he speaks, the way he talks or whatever. And so what? Why do you have to throw the baby away, throw the water with the water with the baby? Why would you have to throw away with the water, pray with the dirty water with the baby, for God's sake? Why don't you take the message and forget about the messenger? So when I hear in intellectuals, academicians actually going against Donald Trump, and when I listen to them, why they are going, they're so petty that it doesn't make sense to me. Their reasons are so empty. So sad.
It's not only in Nigeria. If you find
even of course, in the US, it's worse in the US.
if you find comment at the highest level in the US, people, former defense secretaries, people who have held the highest position, you find the comment so shallow. Let me give you an example. When Donald Trump was president, he said that they asked him if he will come to the defense of any NATO country, and he said that he will not come to the defense of any NATO country that did not pay his financial dues. Now they went to town saying that Donald Trump says he will dissolve NATO, he will weaken NATO. Now tell me if you can a good analysis of his statement. You can understand it in the way that he wanted to strengthen NATO by making everybody pay up his dues. Paying up his dues will strengthen NATO instead of weakening it. But look at the analysis they analyzed this. That there is never a time that he said he was going to dissolve NATO. What he said is that, look, let Europe bear a greater portion of their protection. They threw everything at America. You are supposed to be using 2% of your budget for defense. You are paying less than 1%. Everything about the European defense fell on America. The man said, look, you are cheating us. You are just putting, we are defending you. Why shouldn't you pay your share? So if you don't want to pay your share, when you are in trouble, don't call upon us. How is that a statement that will now be interpreted that if Donald Trump comes to power, he will weaken NATO, he will dissolve NATO?
That is it.
You hear them saying all these things, and people buy into it.
Honestly.
People who don't want to reason out a matter buy into it.
That is it. Unfortunately, so that is it.
If you reach the level of Professor Bolaji Akinemi, a professor, a foreign affairs minister, even at my level, I will not analyze somebody based on his bombastic grammar.
Honestly,
or even honestly, I will look beyond that. At my level, I will look beyond that and look at the substance of his speech and look at the policy direction of his speech and analyze that speech. That is the benefit of education.
Yes, of course.
The benefit of enlightenment.
You're right, honestly. That is just it anyway. Now, honestly, you see, when Peter Obi came up for during presidential 2023 presidential election, I saw so many things in common with him. So many things in him that is in common with Donald Trump, and that was why, honestly, that was one of the reasons why I supported him, because I saw a kind of Donald Trump. I saw the image of Donald Trump in him, except one thing, and that thing that I didn't see in him was why he did not only lose the election, and that is why he will not lose. He will not even win should he contest. Now, if you are watching as my viewer here, I do not have any. I'm not. If Peter will be coming up to contest for presidency again today, I will support him as long as he's on the ticket. I will support him. But what I am saying, my projection is he will not win because he lost that chance. He lost that chance because I saw Donald Trump in him. And so the only thing he doesn't have about, because he's a successful, okay, the things that are in common, he's a successful businessman, just like Donald Trump. He was loved by the masses, just like the common man on the street, just like Donald Trump. He was against the establishment, just like Donald Trump. His policies, his success story is against the establishment, and just like Donald Trump as well. So, but the other side of Donald Trump, the strength he lacked, and he still lacks, unfortunately, the strength of Donald Trump. That is what is lacking in him. He exhibited that strength in Anambra State when he was a governor. I don't know, for whatever reason, on national level, he's just not doing, he's just chickening out. I see Peter Obi as, while he has some strength in him, he's as weak as he is strong. Let me use that word. He's half strong and half weak. And that is why he lost it, because 2023 election, everybody knew quite right that Peter Obi won that election. What I expected him to do is to be the Donald Trump of Nigeria then. Use a serious megaphone, Go on megaphone. Stop. Don't believe in the courts. Use your popularity, your public popularity at that time to actually pull back your mandate, take back your mandate by sending people on to up to the to the streets, not to protest violently, but peaceful protests. If at that time Peter Obi had stood up in the public and called for protests, I am telling you, by now Nigeria wouldn't have been facing all this, what Tinubu, the way Tinubu is treating us and taking us for granted. So Peter Obi, whatever we are passing through in this Tinubu's government, honestly, I blame Peter Obi for it. Because if he had done the needful, if he had been courageous enough, probably by now he could have even been more popular. I don't even see Peter Obi is not. I don't know, Barrister. Do you have a very good foresight when it comes to politics? Do you see Peter Obi as that Peter Obi's popularity in comparison? Do you see him as popular in comparison to his popularity in 2023 election? Now,
not at all. His popularity has dropped.
As when?
And
That's it.
Let me tell you, that will reflect there is a coming election in Edo State where Labour Party performed excellently in the presidential election. But you will see it in the gubernatorial election where they should have built on that performance. I don't see them winning the election in Edo State.
You see,
even
that's
though
the point.
they have a very good candidate, the former chairman of NBA in Nigeria.
Yes.
But because the obedient movement has climbed down.
Yes, of course. Because
for him to win,
yes, of
not
course.
Don't forget, when I was analyzing Peter Obi, I was a bit cautious because I saw that he was not mercurial like
correct.
Trump. And even though he did not use the word Nigeria first, all the things he did and everything he said
was like Donald Trump.
Philosophy of Nigeria first, just like Trump came with America first. Everything that Peter Obi was doing could fit into the philosophy of Nigeria first. That is why some of us, as against who he contested with, we were 100% certain that he was the right candidate for Nigeria at that time. And don't forget, remember what I said. I said, if Peter Obi comes to power, I don't expect miracles, but I expect a foundation for good governance in Nigeria and the pointing of Nigeria's future in the right direction. If that happens, I will give him 100% success, because the problem in Nigeria is so multifaceted that 8 years is enough to drive a revolution to change Nigeria. But if we succeed in introducing good governance, in demystifying governance, and in pointing Nigeria in the right way politically and economically, in such a way that other incoming governments or administrations can build upon, that would be an unqualified success in this country. And that is the minimum I expected, and I believe he could achieve because of his character and because of what he did before.
Yeah, you're right. That's my point, honestly. That is the reason why I don't see, because just like you said, the obedient movement, that's why, of course, just like you pointed, it's not, the Labour Party is not winning elections on local levels. It's sort of, so of course his popularity has waned, and it's still waning, actually, it's still going down. And so because obedient movement, we expected better from him. Honestly, we expected him to really act, not be chicken out. I don't know, this issue of, look, I expected him to be, he could have been, just look at Donald Trump now. The more he stood his ground and the authority are going after him, the more popular he is. And that is exactly what I expected of Peter Obi. He could have taken advantage of that trend then, that popularity trend in his favor then, and actually be aggressive in his public speeches, not being you're not being elected. We are not fighting for you because it's for you to be a pastor or a reverend father or a preacher. We're fighting for you because we fought for you because we thought we were expected you to come and take the establishment, take them on and fight against them. A sort of for us, not that kind of whatever. So so sad that and it's become even weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker because it just goes around touring everywhere, attending all events and whatever. You know, even no decorum anymore, no respect. He doesn't even choose where what event he attends anymore. Just for in fact, to me, I just see him as being this time around. He's becoming desperate. That desperation, and this is what I hate. I don't like. You are doing something out of desperation and not out of the sincerity of purpose and not out of patriotism. Because if he wanted to be patriotic, he would have done with the needful in 2023 election to stand for Nigeria and Nigerians. He failed to stand for Nigeria and Nigerians, and that is why I am really, really, really mad at him. And that is why he will not, because he has lost that time. It was his time then, but he lost that time. So sad. Now he just goes around attending all functions, both where lower, everywhere any function is invited, he just honors it or whatever, just for political gains.
Part of his problem is that he does not have high quality advisors, strategic advisors. I don't think he has them. Because what he's doing now does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Honestly, it doesn't make sense. Just too childish and too. I don't know why he's doing that. Okay, we know why he's doing that, but it's not obviously it's not going anywhere. That's the truth. Okay, Barrister, let's move to the next. In fact, my guy, stretch this topic to over 1 hour.